Jonah Hill was, I guess, in a relationship with this chick, and I guess they had some conflict, some issues or something, and he texted her, which she later kind of released, exposed him, whatever, saying that, well, the text message was basically like, hey, here are my boundaries. I don't want you associating with certain types of people. I don't want you posting these kinds of photos on the internet, et cetera, et cetera. And then he said something along the lines of, hey, if these things, like posting photos on the internet or associating with these people, brings you happiness, then no hard feelings. I think what he's implying there is, if it's an issue, like, we can just break up, no hard feelings, wish you the best. But this is just what I need for me to be happy in this relationship. But you have an issue with that.
I mean, yeah, because when he started dating that woman and started pursuing her, he was the one commenting on those photos and liking those photos, and he knew he knew she was a surfer. He knew what her career was. He knew that was what she loved to do. And then when he finally got the woman that he wanted and was in a relationship with this strong, independent woman with a successful career, he decided to implement his insecurities and be like, you can't surf anymore. You can't surf with men. You can't post any sort of photo. And I don't know if you saw the photos that he was showing her he thought were inappropriate. She was fully dressed in like a romper and just standing outside like at a brunch spot. It wasn't anything that was over the top. It's not like she's doing sex work or OnlyFans. He pursued a surfer and then told her she can't surf.
Well,
I don't think he said that.
He said she can't surf with men.
But I mean, we don't know all the details, but it's look, we don't know what happened, but it seemed to me like she was associating with certain people that maybe had an unbecoming reputation.
Like, he doesn't. I think.
Well, Jonah Hill's a darling of Hollywood.
He was so weird with Emma Stone in Superbad.
Well, that's a movie.
So weird.
What?
No, he was so weird.
But so that's his job.
Yeah,
what do you mean he was weird?
Didn't he like write it into it, or like didn't he like also help produce it or something?
What?
Wait, what do you mean?
Superbad was an awesome movie. What the fuck
was
are you
so
talking-
weird.
No, what? Okay, no.
But you mean he was like in the movie, the actual movie, he was weird?
Yeah.
Like, as an actor, he was portraying like an awkward 17-year-old, 18-year-old high school.
Yeah, but like, I feel
like
like
acting,
didn't he like
his job.
Yeah,
that he's
but I'm just
assigned
saying,
to do.
he's been weird.
What?
What do you mean he's been?
I just said
what?
how he was weird. I said he was weird in the movie Superbad with Emma Stone.
What?
Wait.
What?
I don't get it. Am I stuttering?
No, I understand, because if the roles were reversed, should she be okay with his behavior as an actor, his job? She's a surfer by profession. So if the roles are reversed, should she go, well, I don't want you to act then. I don't want you to act in scenes with women. I don't want you to kiss women in scenes at your job. It's the same thing.
Well, number one, she's not on that level, right? She's an amateur surfer. But then number two, do you guys really think that was the first conversation they had about it, those text messages? I know for me, if that type of thing were to come up in that type of situation, that text message, the way it was structured, that was not the first time. They have clearly talked about that. And I can't say this for sure, right? Nobody knows the full extent aside from the two of them. I would bet, though, that they had this conversation in person, and that was a text reinforcing what was already discussed. Who brings something like that serious up for the first time via text?
Yeah,
I would personally find that very unlikely. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I think that what she said was, she was a surfer before. I think that once you get into a serious relationship, you're completely entitled to set boundaries. The more serious a relationship becomes, the more likely it is and more reasonable it is for them to set those kind of boundaries.
But a boundary isn't something that you impose on somebody else.
I think that
that's not a boundary at that
think
point.
It goes both ways. I don't think he was necessarily imposing. I don't really like Jonah Hill, personality. I love his movies. I think Superbad was goated, by the way. But I think it's normal. I think it's completely normal to ask that when a relationship becomes more serious. Just like something like, like the post. And like she said, I don't think this was the first time they talked about it. I don't think that whatsoever.
But so do you think that if a man told you that you had to give up your career because you were dating him, that's acceptable?
He didn't say that.
He said if you wanted to continue to surf with men, which, let's be serious, the predominant group that surfs is men, and if you're on a beach, there's going to be men there.
Okay, so I surfed. I mean, you can paddle out alone, you know, like.
Oh,
you
for
don't-
sure. But I mean, like,
She
if you
probably
have
has girlfriends and stuff.
right, but if you have a good opportunity, I mean, something like this or whatever the case may be, obviously not a podcast, but if you have an opportunity that includes men, are you supposed to deny that if it's going to help your career just because your boyfriend's uncomfortable with you being around men?
Well, they claimed, and maybe you can weigh in on this. I mean, she claimed to have been. I don't think she like had really a major career as like a model or like. I don't think she's a pro surfer.
But even if you're not pro, doesn't your career still matter?
I think it's within his right to try to assert these boundaries, not necessarily tell her to follow them, but I think it's his right to bring them to the table, and whether or not she decides to agree with them or not. I think that he was sort of setting up an ultimatum, so he did it under the pretense that, hey, maybe this won't work out. I don't think he was necessarily like trying to dictate what she did or what she didn't. He was just setting what he wanted, what he expected out of the relationship.
I mean, he was just weaponizing therapy speak in order to assert.
Weaponizing therapy speak.
Yeah, he was, in order to give her an ultimatum and basically say, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, the things she was already doing pre-relationship. I don't think that he should have pursued her in the first place if that was things that he was uncomfortable with.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Men always want like the bad bitch, but then once they get the bad bitch, it's like they can't handle her. And that's exactly what I texted Brian in like the thing that I wanted to talk about. So I'm so glad you brought that up because oh my gosh, it's always like with Ariana Grande, like the reason why she's getting divorced is because he couldn't handle having a bad bitch. He couldn't handle having all that fame.
How do we know that?
Because
we don't know.
They've already talked about it. It's been like
They've talked about it?
It's been publicized.
Ariana Grande
Isn't she a
is a
homewrecker?
homewrecker.
Yeah.
That too, yes. But that's a completely different issue.
Okay, yeah, that's another issue. And I was going to bring that up too, that she's kind of like a pick-me. I'm so sorry, Ariana Grande. I'm so sorry.
Wow, shots fired.
I am so sorry.
I'm
but
not
yeah,
sorry.
she does tend to go, oh my God, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm so sorry, Ariana Grande.
She's gonna see this and come for you.
No, Ariana, no.
Okay, but okay. So you guys are saying that maybe he should have just not dated, or like he was liking on her photos. He should have known what he was getting into. But isn't it fair to say that like prior to dating, he had no problem with her engaging in what he considered single behavior, but once they started dating, he wanted her to act in a way that was commensurate with being in a relationship. So
That's what I
not
was
posting certain revealing photos.
That's what I was saying.
But her on a surfboard isn't a revealing photo, and her in a romper in front of a brunch spot is not a revealing
Well,
photo.
that's all. But to be fair,
I guess it's subjective, but I don't think that if she's posting photos for her career, amateur or not, that it's okay for him to be like, you in a bikini is too revealing. I mean, look at his movies. Look what he's done.
Yeah, didn't he like whip it out and
Huh?
like,
What?
yeah, and
He's
like,
a
but
comedian.
just one thing,
no,
like
And she's a surfer.
Also, the way men are sexualized is so different
No,
to
but
women too.
the only thing we have though is what she chose to release. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been on the opposite side, or maybe you've had someone speak poorly about you. But if someone ever speaks poorly about you, are they likely to reveal perhaps the ways in which that maybe they contributed to the issue? I mean, it's one, I think she's making herself to be a victim, and people are very good at taking themselves out of the situation and not telling the whole truth and only the part that makes the other party look bad.
I mean, that's definitely true, but we can only go off of what we've seen, right? So, I mean, if we're basing it just off this conversation without any prior knowledge, that's what it looks like. It looks like he started dating somebody that he knew did not fall in line with his morals and his values. And I think that that was a waste of her time if we're going strictly off of that.
But that was single behavior.
How is it single behavior
That
if
was
she's a
single-
surfer?
Oh
That's
my
not
God.
single behavior. Wearing a bikini on the beach is not single
Are you
behavior.
saying it was a fatal attraction, basically? I feel like we've all dated that guy where we probably shouldn't have. You know?
Well,
what
I mean,
What?
yeah, for sure.
I'm
definitely.
not saying Jonah, but I'm just saying like he was attracted to her and maybe he was trying to.
change her, but that's what I'm saying is wrong.
Like I said, I think it's fine to like impose boundaries once you're in the serious relationship. On the same side, she could have said, "Oh, I'm not comfortable with what you do in the movies," and that would have been completely reasonable on her side.
Which I'm sure was, again, a private conversation that they had. Nobody brings that up for the first time over text. Have you guys ever brought up something really that serious for the first time where it's like an ultimatum via text? I mean, maybe...
yes, yes, I have.
Okay, well, I'd say that that's a...
Some people get
objectively a pretty
scared.
emotionally immature thing to do. When you're in
Maybe
a
he
real
is immature.
But how old are you again? Sorry,
I'm 21.
Exactly.
Maybe
so
he
that's
is
a
immature.
21-year-old thing.
Yeah, but what if he is immature? You're thinking, you're jumping straight
Well,
ahead.
she just
and
said that
you're
he
like,
was
"Oh,
using
no."
therapy speak. Generally, someone who's been in therapy for that long to the point where they're able to elicit therapy speak
And I don't-
are a little bit more emotionally mature.
And I think they were both seeing the same therapist privately, so it's not necessarily
I don't know
therapy speak,
much
it's just-
about this situation.
Didn't
But
Jo-
I'm just saying.
Didn't
that-
Jonah go on to have the child, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know anything about this. I don't
Child?
know
I don't
much
even
about
know.
Jonah.
And that's the other thing, exactly. She released it like just after he had the baby with his new girl, right? And this was years after the fact. So what was the point?
I mean, yeah, but that's
Interesting
not what we're
motive.
She's trying to
talking
get her
about.
lick back. That's
Yeah,
what she
I
was trying to
guess.
do. Haven't you guys ever tried getting a lick back with
What's
an ex?
that?
Like after the fact?
Revenge.
Yeah.
No,
Also,
2 years
later.
if you're a victim of like emotional
Revenge.
abuse, sometimes it takes a while to have the confidence and the strength to come
Whoa,
forward.
hold on. Are you saying that this was emotional
No,
abuse?
I'm just giving an example of her saying it took a.
Hold on
Doc
just a sec.
Venable has donated $100.
Nick, can you adjust the
Flight
exposure?
girl, making
Thank
a
you, Doc.
private conversation public is a major violation of boundaries. If anyone was weaponizing therapy is the surfer but trying to damage his reputation. Nothing wrong with using therapy language.
I definitely,
So who has done the
Doc, I
therapy?
100% agree. I'll get you
Yeah,
in here
yeah.
just a sec. Doc, I 100% agree with you. Let's say Jonah misstepped in a couple of ways. I think what she did, even though the relationship is over, absolutely, whatever Jonah could have possibly done is, I don't know if I'm saying this, is dwarfed by her exposing this publicly, because ultimately I think it's such a non-story. Like, okay, you guys had disagreements, whatever. Break up, move on. It's obviously malicious. Like, this is not, I don't think she was abused. Let's say Jonah was being controlling. I don't think, like, he said, hey, if you don't want to, if this is too much, I wish you the best. Maybe we're not right for each other. These are my boundaries. Whether you disagree with his boundaries or not, that's another thing. But he gave her an out. And I don't know, it's unclear the timeline of this, if they continue dating after that text message. But I think to expose an ex like that that's a greater grievance than him supposedly being controlling, I think.
I mean, I can definitely agree with leaking the conversation being a move that I wouldn't do years after a relationship, because again, it just seems vengeful more than anything else. But I'm just strictly talking about the content in the
Sure.
text message.
Okay.
I do agree that action isn't correct either. Again, I agree. I said earlier, 2 wrongs don't make a right. I don't think she was right necessarily for doing that after the fact, but I do think that he should have never pursued her if those were his boundaries and that is the person that he was going after.
Yeah, and were